Number one, certain services you have to drive. Not that the psyche of the people and process the psyche of the people and process of development. Some of us, especially the younger ones, don't have the belief that there's anything different from what they are seeing. That for anything you have to give money, you have to cheat this, you have to cheat that. That is the way it is. They don't believe that things can work smoothly. You can go to school without bribing anybody. You can drive without giving anything. You can do, I mean, the normal way of life. Many of us don't have that in our mind because we have already been conditioned to believe that this is the way things should happen. And then it is also existentially threatening. Misuse and exploitation of natural and mineral resources. I don't know how many of you, last 2 months, a report came from an organization in Southern Africa. It's a civil society-based organization. They did a study across 16 countries in Africa. The report is available. I also have a copy of it I can give you. And in the study, including Nigeria, they interviewed young people on whether they want to go, leave Africa or their countries and go to Europe and some other parts of the world. What do you call the Java syndrome? 66% of the young people interviewed out of 5,600 said any available opportunity, they are going to catch it and leave. Number two, they don't have the belief that their countries have opportunities for them. Number three, they believe that their leaders, their local leaders, are conniving with external people, particularly they name the Chinese, to exploit their resources, their mineral resources, their natural resources, and that there is nothing for them left in their communities and countries for them to look up to. So the only way for them is to leave Nigeria and go out and make their own future there. Or not Nigeria, to leave Africa rather. Very sickening report. And if you have all your young people looking outside, becoming hopeless internally, then that is dangerous. Because the future is on them. But here you have a set of people that are not even prepared to remain and continue with the system. So it can be a synthetic misuse and exploitation of natural and mineral resources. Look at what is happening in Zamfara. And not only Zamfara. Again, recently there was a report from a United Nations body that says 25 or 26% of all the gold that is sold in the world are coming from illegal mining sources. And because of that, it has become a very attractive source of money. So people are willing to invest in the system, including sponsoring insurgencies and other arm-bearing activities. And it's not only in Nigeria. Look at Ghana, they have been fighting about this Galamsey and some other parts of Africa. So ours is just trying to take off. If we work hard, we can stop it. But we need to take lessons from what is happening elsewhere. Wherever you have these illegal minings, look at Congo. Congo has never known peace, Congo Democratic Republic, and other parts of Southern and Central Africa. They have been fighting all this, and all of this are sponsored by merchants who buy weapons, give people to continuously cause confusion as they continue to do what? To mine their mineral resources. Just take Congo Democratic Republic. Since independence till date, and if you know the development process in Congo, it's so poor fundamentally. But Congo is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of mineral resources and natural resources. The whole of Africa, they are bigger in size. They are the biggest country in Africa in terms of size. They have more resources than any country you can think of, both waterways and what. But Congo has failed to develop. Every day there are different insurgency groups fighting each other because of what? Mineral resources. Every group will go and carve an area and then they start exploiting them, and then because of that they have their own gas and everything, and then be exporting demands to the Middle East and other parts of the world. If you try to do some serious investigations in Nigeria, you may end up with the same conclusion. Wherever you have this, you are likely going to start having conflicts and violent crimes accompanying this. So, Madam, are you with us? So, I'm working because of what? Because of corruption. The foreign direct investment is not coming as it should. High cost of governance compared to the definition of governance. High cost of doing business. You want to start a small business today, the amount of money you have to put in for that business to succeed is huge. Low job creation ability, frustration and sense of powerlessness even among the people. And that is why you have so much resort to malams, to juju houses, to all sorts of prayer houses. Because you have become hopeless, you are frustrated, you have no way. So you try to connect directly to God.
Of course.
Yes, everything you take it to God direct. Because the institutions are failing. So where do you go to? Instead of working, you continue praying. And prayer must go with work. That is why in the past, if you remember, the Northern regional logo was work and worship. They did not say worship and sleep. So you have to do that. Then you also look at loss of interest in government. Many of our young people, they don't even know who are ministers. Who journalists? Some of you don't know who are ministers, who are governors, who are this one. You don't even have interest in government again. You don't believe that they are serving you. So that connection, that loyalty to the state is suspect. Why do you need to know who is the Minister of Communication? Why do you need to know who is the Minister of Education? What is the relevance? Who is the Commissioner for Education in your state? You don't know what relevance is it to you. Because you cannot see that relevance and that connection. Credibility is built on truthfulness, competence, relevance, and dynamism. So relevance is not there. So why should it be credible to you? You continue telling people, the governor said, the minister said, he lamented, he expressed, he described, why. You are overemphasizing. But it does not make any connection in their mind. It's just for you, the journalist. The next day, you will not even remember what you wrote. You did not write it out of any deep conviction. You did it simply because you have to do it.
To survive.
Yes. So you can see. Then illicit financial flows and high debt burden. If you look at records of EFCC, how money flows. And illegal. Money laundering, this and that. So all of these things, you can see the high debt burden in Nigeria, how much we have taken from outside over the years. And where did we put the money? Then, next one is fragility. There's every year, there's the fragility, country fragility index, where they list the fragility level of countries. Go and check. Every year Nigeria, until recently we changed just a little. We have been occupying the bottom. And what do you mean by fragility? Issues of conflicts, so many conflicts in the country. Take any part of Nigeria, you'll find one form of conflict or a simmering conflict that is sleeping and waiting to explode. Any part of Nigeria, absolutely, without exclusion. There may be one problem or another. And if you go to Abuja, what do you find? Unlimited corruption. That further exacerbates all these conflicts down the line. Then you have violence. The smallest thing will trigger violence for you. One violence here, one violence there, all sorts of violence, starting from domestic violence. Husbands are angry that their wives are not appreciating the effort they are putting. The wives are angry that the husbands are not doing much. So what do we have? Conflict at the family level. Children are angry that he is not doing much. That is angry that they are not appreciating the big effort he's making. What do you have? Conflict. That's even at the family level. And then it goes up and up and up until where you have communities, people killing themselves over a pot of water, people killing themselves over a piece of land. So many, everybody is full of anger and is waiting just for a slightest spark for him to kick off. Look at when we drive on the road. Why? Everybody is angry. Then, of course, weakening of ability to respond to crisis. Our capacity to respond to all these emerging crises is weak. And then desperation and depression. You see many people today in Nigeria, they just died. Yesterday we were together. You see so many people who are depressed in life. You see people just sitting down. Depression, setting, caused by poverty. So all these things are indicators that things are not going well. And then, of course, rising inequality between the rich and the poor. Again, I'll refer you back to UNDP Human Index report that they give. Nigeria is one of the most unequal nations in the world. Inequity between the rich and the poor is one of the sharpest in the world. Go and read. I'm not telling you this from my mind.
There is no middle.
They are based on studies that have been
So that you are
conducted.
rich
or you are poor.
The gap between those who have
and those
and those that lack is unacceptably high. So we can check and see the statistics. Then, of course, corruption undermines democratic integrity and human prosperity. That's why even after our elections, we find all sorts of litigations, all sorts of claims and counter-claims. When they did the election in the US, despite all the noise, did you hear anybody go to any tribunal? Ghana, did you hear about tribunal? Despite the poverty in Ghana, they have confidence in their democratic system. But in our own case, what the Nigerian politician will tell you is, let me be declared a winner and be taken to court. We can sort it out in the court, but not for me to fail and go to court. So how he wins,
doesn't matter.
Let's go to court and sort it out. So you see, and because and you see people generally at the lower level also having this suspicious thinking, and they are not willing to protect the system. They do not have that interest, and above all, the integrity level is low, and that is not good. And these are some of the things that can promote all sorts of conflicts in our system. So, what are some of the common forms of corruption in the Northeast? You know this better than I do. The one that you are involved, the one that you observe, the one that you report. So financial corruption and illicit national and international money flows. Plenty of it at every level. At every level. Even within the family level. You give your wife chop money, she will edit it along the way. Yes. In the newsroom, Papa will be giving, the reporter that collected will edit and submit it to the editor. By their Toby. And sometimes, and so does it mean those that look slim? You know, there are some people.
Here we are.
That they don't put it in their stomach. They invest in buildings. You may not see it on them physically, but go and ask the number of houses that they are possessing. So, you see, all sorts of financial corruptions. And these things, like we have said, retard development and raises desperation and frustration and anger in the minds of the people. And that results into what? Into aggression or conflicts, unnecessary conflict. Things that should not ordinarily attract any violence will just spark violence. Because already you are desperate. And you see, there's a saying in Hausa, thank you for this. You have no kobo, you have no wife, you have no house, you have no this, you have no that. And you have attained the age that you think you should possess some of these things. You don't have any one of them. So it will not be an issue for you to destroy so that even those who have will be like you. It's as dangerous as that. If you don't have properly and sufficiently catered for. So what is it?
And he's even ready to lose it.
Of course, he's ready to lose it. And why he's not ready to lose it? He becomes an easy tool in the hand of anybody that is willing to pay for it. So he's mobilized, easily mobilized for destructive purposes that will undermine collective existence. You think these people who give welfareism in their countries are stupid? They are not. If you want to live in peace, then the other people must also live in peace at their level. You can enjoy as a big man up there, but let them also at the lower level have some level of psychological comfort that they can feel justified to defend the system in the event of any attack. But if you have nothing and there's an attack, why will you defend the system? If you defend it, who will be the winner? You have nothing. But so it's only this your life. So we don't need to push people to that level of desperation through corruption. But because if we do, we are only increasing the number of frustrated elements who will become ready armies in the hands of mischief makers. And that is why you can come and gather people and tell them that, look, you can create another country out of Nigeria and they support you. Because they have nothing to lose. So then the next issue you people have to seriously address, journalists, environmental corruption. How our trees are dangerously and alarmingly being cut off, especially by some of these merchants who come from outside. Go to states like Taraba and look at how the forests in some parts of Taraba are. Go to Adamawa, look at some parts of, from on your way to Mubi, go to the Dire and other side, go into the forest where we have all this. Today, all these places have become deserts. These trees are being cut off. Today, if you are going to Jos, around Panshami, you can see where even our mountains are being cut. Yes. And they're taking them away. Even the stones, they're taking them away. Not to talk of the digging of the soil or the land. Go to all these illegal minings. This is serious environmental corruption. And it's not only in Nigeria. The Amazons, go and read the kind of war that exists in the Amazons in Brazil against illegal miners and all these loggers. It's a serious war. You cannot talk about environmental peace, climate change, blah, blah, without addressing these issues. And the impact of this on conflicts. Tell me what is the implication for having all these conflicts in a state like Zamfara? You are going to find violent crimes and terrorism. Of course, drugs, they all go together. Are sponsored by how much does it cost to buy one AK-47? So, who have the money apart from government? But yet, you see ragtag individuals who are hungry, wretched, and miserably looking, yet handling very sophisticated guns. If you can give them the gun, why don't you give them the money to invest and live well? But you are buying guns to fight this threat and destroy and make life difficult for everybody. Because you are diverting attention from the illegal mining activities so that you can have a conducive environment for the perpetration of your illegality. And that is what is happening, not only in Nigeria. Go and read the literature, very clear. I attended this year's Transparency International Conference, which took place in Vilnius in Lithuania. And this issue was prominently discussed with different examples. Look at this oil pipeline vandalization and the illegal bunkering in South. If you drop the kill you, it's a big business that even governments are afraid of dealing with some of these issues. Look at the effort the Nigerian government is making to control all these activities and what is costing us in this country. So it's not a child's play. It's serious. And this is why in the Northeast, you people have to work hard and ensure that these issues are highlighted for people to understand the implications. They may come to your village and be giving you 10,000 every day, but at the end of the day, you lose your land because the land will be degraded. And if you are not lucky, they will be devastated through all these wars, local wars that they sponsor. And the resources of government will always be going to quenching this. And don't forget, this environment, a lot of it is not renewable. All of us here inherited a conducive environment left by our parents and grandparents. What right have we got now to devastate this, take away everything and die, and leave our subsequent generations without anything? If this oil of Nigeria was taken away before we came, what would have been the benefit to us? If these trees were not there before we came, now we are bringing down the trees, we are not replanting. The land, we are not engaging in sustainable agricultural behaviors. So we will all die. Then what happens to our children and their children and their children? Nigeria will not finish tomorrow. So how will they be surviving when you have devastated the environment? And you have gone. The waters, look at Lake Chad here, the dangerous receding of Lake Chad. Go and read through, if you are a geology student, all this area used to be part of Lake Chad waters. But the thing has been receding up to where we are now. And what are the implications economically and on our survival as a nation and connection as a people here? The same thing, go to River Benue, dredging, go to all these our rivers today. And we need a lot more water. Every day they complain that the water level down is reducing. It's one of the reasons why this Alo Dam was constructed. Because my family depends on the water. And this water is going deeper and lower and lower and lower. We'll wake up a day where you don't really have the water. Building boreholes anyhow. So this is why we need this surface water. So that at least this borehole sinking and whatever will be reduced. But we don't care about these things. We are doing it. So by the time we are gone, what happens? Think about it. So what are we doing as journalists or as media professionals? What kind of investigations are we doing? Or are we also coming to leave more conflicts for our younger people who are coming? But definitely there will be more conflicts on these issues. Then of course the next kind of investigations we must also focus on is about human rights abuses. Violent and organized crimes and illicit drugs. You have all sorts of human rights abuses. You may not have to go into the details of what they mean or how they are perpetrated, but they are common from security sources, from leadership, from this, from that, from individuals, all sorts of human rights abuses. Are we doing our job as journalists to investigate and expose some of these activities so that people can claim damages? Violent and organized crimes prevalent all over the place. Kidnapping, armed robbery, banditry, blah, blah, blah. So many of them. So what kind of investigations are we undertaking? Of course, illicit drugs. Even in Maiduguri here, if you have to do an investigation of illicit drugs, inside Maiduguri town alone, you'll be shocked with what your findings will be. And what is the connection between illicit drugs and violent conflicts or violent crimes? You can easily establish the correlation between these two. Prevalence of the consumption of of illicit drugs can easily lead to what? Because they are mind-bending. And not only that, they kill the spirit in the individual. An active, useful youth now becomes useless. It's just sleeping all day. No more work spirit in you because the drugs are making weak and completely irrelevant and useless in society. So we need to focus a lot of sectoral corruption. In education, for example, we have issue of sextortion or sex for marks, malpractices, all sorts of exam malpractices, and all sorts of extortion by lecturers, by administrators, all sorts of extortion that make the system so terrible. You register for your master's degree, you register for your PhD before you get it, all sorts of wahala. People get degrees, they cannot speak one sentence in language. people come to school with 10 credits. Here in University of Maiduguri, here, we had a candidate in mass communication. We admitted her in the second week. Then her friend came. At that time, Dr. Allah Musa was like, HOD. Said, when you come any admission, don't even say, why she said to the HOD, why am I Gawache, but Ajimu ever ikatafadi. Need an atima, but okay, but can't okay. So he just got the name. She went to Federal Government College here, on the Federal Government College. So Muka Kasi, say, who will drop in his car? We went to the principal. So we have come to check the result of so candidates. Say, okay, Vice Principal Academy. We went to, and then we got the result. The girl failed. That girl was found. That day, we came back, wrote a letter to the registrar, and the girl was dismissed from mass one. So we were lucky we got this information, but we did not take the other one. But at least, in fact, but Allah took the name and everything back. And then you also have people who come 7 credits in the first semester, everything F. So, a lot of terrible things happening all over. Even at Vice Chancellor, I know some of the cases that have handled. So we have this corruption thing is all over. It's not just in government only. In agriculture, you have fertilizer scandals. Even has stories related to fertilizer.
Attracto.
So, and when fertilizer is not available, farmers will not farm. And when food is not available, there will be crisis. Our peace is because we can get something to eat. The day you don't have anything to eat, only God knows what will happen. So this fertilizer thing is at least, so a lot of, so for some people it's just a money-making venture. So then you have farmer-harvest conflicts, sometimes even perpetrated and encouraged by politicians. Or sometimes they cause the conflict so that they can steal people's cattle, one side. And just think of it, this stealing of cattle. A herd of 100 cows will be stolen, and nobody can trace it. How? It's not just a one thing you put in your pocket. So I think it was last semester, a tank was stolen in my school. A big tank of 3,500 big cars carrying capacity. So when the tank was stolen, the chief security came to me, reported. I said, this tank, nobody can explain. I said, okay, chief, please go and work hard and get me this tank. And they stole it in the hostel. Yes, hostel. They push it. So it was, I think it was last November. No, December. November into December. So December, come at this time. And I said, my tank was not found. Call the chief. I said, Chief, I'm senior officers in Ghana Security Department. So I did not tell them when because I chose to stop. Unga no mean thank you. Wallahi man, I'm gonna go get this up. I want to stop. Unga is December neko. Chief, the Kai, the number 2, this is the number 3. J Kasua. Go and ask the price of this tank. Now, salary in December, do come to the book security. I get chief, Kai, minimum of 10,000 Nigeria salary. One. Kai, whatever they put in tank, salary in Kunezebia from this month. I say, answer, thank you. Because I come at Christmas and I say, I salary, say January, in the commerce process, we say, thank you. Be out. I buy cheap, but they buy cheap. That matches was like a cheap idea. Do you know what? In 3 days, thank you. So in 3 days, I got that. In fact, I traveled to Abuja. So in the night, they called me. Chief called me. I thank you now. Answer me. And who stole it? A staff, a plumbing staff of the department. In fact, when the Suki Aiki already, Suka Sachi, thank you, Baba. Suka Tura, Suka Muta, Suka Sakatanga, Suka Tura. And then somebody bought it from town, and it was in somebody's house in Kashere, Suka Poye. So when I gave that directive, eventually I can trace it. Say, I can come and say, tank inside the police headquarters in Gombe. They left it there, then one policeman called my chief. I said, okay, thank you,
Ya mu je
I
aiki.
don't have to explain how and why, because it's your duty first. It will happen. So, and that stuff, I now handed it over to police. I think they have jailed him for 1 year or so, I don't know. So, terrorism, organized crimes, and illicit drugs all over the place. Because these things are international, they are not just Nigerian affair. They have international roots and connections. And with the internet now, with all these gadgets, it's very easy to connect all over the place. Which means we must also be up and doing in terms of our infrastructure, in terms of our training, in terms of our competencies, in terms of the quality of personnel we have who will deal with some of these things. As they say in Hausa, you cannot be analog and be leading a digital system. It's just like you in a television or radio house, being unfortunate to have an analog manager. Is no longer analog. It's now practice based on data with algorithms, with using relevant tools to gather a lot of information. People don't have time to read lengthy articles. They are just no. In fact, there's what is emerging now. The people call bullet point journalism. On this have time to start reading all these lengthy stories. So how do you now get the facts? People are looking for facts to make decisions. So UNESCO defines investigative journalism as the unveiling of matters that are concealed either deliberately by someone in a position of power or accidentally behind a chaotic mass of facts and circumstances, and the analysis and exposure of all relevant facts to the public. And you don't do these things except if you are equipped with the right skills and the right knowledge. Because you are going to raise some weighty matters, and you want people to believe what you are saying. When you write an editorial, you marshal all the facts, all the figures to be able to persuade. So if you are saying raising allegations or investigating certain details and certain matters, then you must be able to take your time. And that's why it is often said investigative journalism is dangerous, it's risky, it's time consuming. It's not the easiest form of journalism, but it's the one that can easily make you a star. It's the one that can easily give you a name. So investigative journalism crucially contributes to freedom of expression and freedom of information. And if you read certain books, they'll tell you that the most important freedom after that of life is that of expression. If you can express yourself, anything can follow. But first of all, you should be able to express yourself. Because if individuals know that they can be held accountable, like our constitution said we should do, certainly try to behave well. And then this accountability is what will build public confidence in the system. Because people will trust what you are saying. They know that this is coming without any polluted thinking in it. Then investigative journalism, like I've said, can be risky. It is costly. Risky in the sense that you can lose your life. Because for some people, you are trying to tamper with their sources of income, or you are trying to tamper with their lifestyles, where they are getting their money and all of that. Okay, you are unwarranted privileges or unmerited privileges. Yes. So they'll be ready to deal with you. They'll first of all maybe try to convince you not to do it. They'll try to cajole you. If you refuse to be cajoled, they threaten. If you refuse to be threatened, then it now becomes a matter of life and death. And we have seen it in this country, all over the world. So you have to be willing and ready to, and you must have the support of your management. And unfortunately, our society is the type that doesn't care. Then, of course, it's costly. You have to travel, you have to give people money, you have to spend looking for information. Information costs money. So you have to do all sorts of investments. Then it's time consuming. You cannot be so rash because you are dealing with people's faith. Somebody has built his reputation. You are investigating it. You cannot just come in 1 minute, start demolishing his image, and at the end of the day, it turns out to be untrue. So you have to take good time to ensure that you have gathered sufficient facts. And you know, investigative journalism has a lot of traps in it. There are a lot of legal traps which you need to also understand so that you don't just force into it. And above all, investigative journalism needs courage. It's for the courageous. If you know that you are not psychologically and physically prepared, for heaven's sake, give it to somebody that can do the work. Because you can easily be dampened. Then, what is the context and the situation in the Northeast? The Northeast region of Nigeria is the most disadvantaged part of the country, with low economic indices, weak infrastructure, and a lot more disadvantages. Which means we have a challenge to be part of the process of rebuilding, rehabilitating, and strengthening the structures and institutions of governance in this part of the country, so that our economy and all the other things we have talked about can also be better. The zone is served by heavily government-controlled and commercially minded broadcasting houses. Most of our stations are heavily government-controlled, where diversity is suspect, and where everything, of course, as we know, is as he said and described. The others that we have are commercially minded. They are busy looking for money and profit. So, and these are elements that can easily undermine the spirit of investigative journalism. Because, as we say in the media, economic independence determines editorial independence. If you are not economically independent, the courage to be editorial independent will just be difficult. So if it is heavily controlled by government, issue of economic independence is not there. If it is commercially minded to the extent that it has to depend on goodwill of advertisers only, then again, another problem. So newspapers have low visibility. About how many newspapers do we sell in Maiduguri, in Yola, in Bauchi, in all of these places? So people don't even buy the newspapers. Then the next one is journalism and journalists are severally connected to governments and powerful political interests. Many of our journalists have their strong connections in government, and that also undermines their courage to engage in investigative journalism. If they are going for conferences, government will give money. They want to do the secretariat, government will give money. Their wives giving birth, government will give money. They want to get a child, government will give money. And at the end of the day, how can you gather courage and say you are going to investigate this center? You cannot have that courage when you sponsor your life and take care of your station, even if the station is not owned by the center. So because of that connection, it becomes difficult. When you look at the political economic relationships, it becomes so difficult. Then political reasons also. Some of us are, in some ways, public relations officers of political parties. Before elections, in our newsrooms, we are busy trying to promote the spirit of certain political parties. We write their press releases. We do this, we do that for them unofficially, preparing ourselves to become press directors when they win elections. So in such a situation, it becomes difficult also. Yes. Then, of course, the culture of serious investigative journalism is weak across media houses in the entire zone. And the reasons are clear. Why we cannot go into the deep. How many of us today, since the beginning of Boko Haram, taking our time to do serious, detailed investigations of what happened to all these issues? How many of us? Serious documentaries. Tracing. We are not in the notice. But we are not in the notice. If BBC has done it, some other organizations have also done it. If this flooding, BBC documentary is clear. What I'm saying is how many of us have done it within and follow up serious documentaries that can be credible based on what is happening on the ground and the kind of essays that we have also written. Other than to say that today how many people have been killed, so how many people have been killed. One of my students, a comedian, once gave us a joke, said, Malam, you see, if you watch Al Jazeera, and if there's a bomb explosion, and you see the journalist, you see, it's happening, you see him running within the context of the conflict, you see him running. But in Nigeria, if a bomb explodes, The journalists will wait for 2 days, and then we come and stand from afar. Yesterday, the bomb exploded over there. You should hate it.
Things have changed, bro.
And the reason is simple. You don't want to die. If you die, that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
So you stand from afar, indicate with your hand, and depend on reports from the military.
Bro, things have
But not for you to be caught in the process. Even yesterday, a bomb killed a Jazeera cameraman in the Palestine Gaza area. And how many journalists died in all of this? So every profession has its own risk. But we are not telling you to go. There are packages. And here there are what? Packages. So you see, I'm not blaming you. Even if insurance is there, it's your children that will enjoy, not you, if you go. So I'm not blaming you. But what I'm saying is, for us to understand the context, even the politicians are not willing to die for the system. They're not willing to die. Nobody's willing to die. So why should you be willing to die? And the thing is, even if you do the investigation, who uses the report? That is even the most important annoying aspect. You spend your money, you spend your time, you risk your life, go and do serious investigation, come and publicize the thing. At the end of the day, you can't tell the review number. So much and that's the end of the story. Nobody follows up. And that is the point you can stop. You cannot go beyond that. You don't have military, you don't have judiciary, you don't have this, you don't have that, you don't have police. You cannot even investigate and talk. And that is the end of the story. That is why you should stop. Or you stop. So what are the general challenges for us as journalists in all of these things? One, emphasis on the culture of quantity instead of quality by our media houses. Your editor doesn't bother what is the quality of what you're submitting, but how many reports have you been able to submit? So even if the quality is not there. So we need to be emphasizing quality, not just quantity. And quality reports are costly and time consuming. You cannot do a quality report on the investigation, let's say on the lecture, in one day, and then come and back and do the editing and whatever and submit it. You need serious research. You may need to have some professors in University of Maiduguri to talk to you. They have done a lot of research. You relate with them, you do this, you do that, and the cost of moving, you need drones, you need this. So it's huge cost of money. You need to have good budgets to be able to do 30 minutes documentary, 1 hour documentary. It's big money, which can be used even in the news. Then, quality requires highly educated management, continuous training, integrated teams, and realistic budgets to appreciate in-depth stories. To do serious documentaries, travel up and down, but first, your management must appreciate that this is what should be done. Then, concern for personal security. We have been talking about it. The first principle in life is that of what? Survival. You have to be alive for anything to happen. Correct. So individuals get concerned about their risk calculation as a crucial concept in investigative journalism. When you do the calculation, what is the answer? Are you convinced that you should proceed or not? When Boko Haram was creating all the havoc in Maiduguri, some of our police died. And some people had to go underground. People like Hamza, this lady, the BBC lady, yes, and some few, they had to go underground. Bilkisu Babangida. Because they were threatened, they were frightened. And many of you who were in Maiduguri had to be changing places of sleep. Today you sleep here, the next day you are elsewhere. You don't have fixed address, telephone numbers, all of these things. These are all survival techniques. Then, investigative journalism is a legal minefield full of traps. You can easily be taken to court. You can be threatened with court actions, and people will be writing you to frighten you. And if you do not have a very supportive management, you just fall in. All lawyers will be writing all sorts of letters threatening you. So you have to be very, very careful, and you need a very strong legal backup also. Your media organization should be able to have a very strong legal team that will be advising on what you people will be doing, so that you are not just rushed to court and then at the end they go and find you or put you in jail in the service of the nation. Then, of course, investigative journalism does not flourish in a predominantly oral culture. Our culture here is more oral than written. We talk more. Our people listen to radio more, talk more than write or read. And in such a situation, the culture that we have may not even appreciate numbers. When you say so million naira, right now, if you hear people have stolen, it no longer even makes any impact on you. Then figures and statistics, as much as it is moved by word, rhythm, and structure. So that again challenges us to not even how to present the reports to make impact. If you are writing in newspaper, how do you present the report to create impact? If you are radio or TV, TV is even more difficult, where you have to combine sight and sound. And getting sight, getting the pictures for TV can be very risky and dangerous. When people see you snapping, it can be very dangerous. So you need some hidden cameras to be able to do that. I once brought Armayawa, I don't know if you know him, this journalist who covers his face, the investigative journalist. He came from Ghana, he was in the UK for some days interacting with us, and he shared his experiences. And the life-threatening circumstances he went through. In fact, he lost his younger brother in Ghana after they did an investigation on football, blah, blah, blah in Ghana. They killed his younger brother. He survived so many threats. So don't think it's easy. It's never easy. But it needs courage and support. So our politicians, officials, and institutions are also very secretive information to the public. Unlike in some other places where you can maybe, based on their laws, easily obtain information. Here is very good. Sometimes you see individuals with cameras on motorbike or taking for care of it now. And that is very risky. Even as a journalist, you are so easily available. So you become a target for mischief makers. So very, very dangerous. And of course, content production. Good content costs a lot of money. It's like a good soup. You cannot tell your wife to give you good sweet soup when you did not give any money in the house. You want to eat good, you have to pay good. As they say, no romance without finance. Good. So if you want, that is the truth now. So you have to pay for the ingredients and everything. So the same thing with good content that people will sit down and watch. You have to pay. And then of course, but if you disagree with that concept, we can debate about it. I'm sure there will be pros and cons. Whether you can romance without finance, or you can finance without romance. You see, Madam Sadiq is doing that talk. Then of course, the power dynamics in the system. The relationship between a commissioner and a reporter, the relationship between governor and maybe the manager, the power dynamics is so huge, the gap. So they can easily give you order and that is the end of the story. You cannot do anything. You cannot ask certain questions. You meet the commissioner, you want to ask certain questions, he shows you that he's the big man, you are the small man. So you don't even have the courage to ask certain questions. And of course, this is the era of fake news. Disinformation, misinformation, malinformation, and of course, hate speech. The moment you start an investigation, it can be described as fake news. No, this is coming from our enemies, hate speech. So it's now left for you to understand all of this and know how you can manage these things. What are some of the efforts being made to improve on what we have now? One, current effort institutionalizing the teaching and research of investigating and data journalism in our institutions. It's now part of our curriculum. Courses on investigative and data-driven journalism, and this is global, it's not just Nigeria. Because this is the trend now. People want facts. People don't have time listening to long stories that are not evidence-based. So we have to equip our students from the university so that by the time they graduate, they are eminently qualified to engage in all of these practices. The rise of online and social media with limitless boundaries and high anonymity level. So that will also become another useful weapon for journalists. Maybe you are working with ATA. You have done some serious investigations. ATA is not willing to report it.
Yes.
You have social media sites through the CSOs, or the CSOs can do their own investigations. They are looking for sources to disseminate. Then they come through you. They give you the background information. And now, as a reporter, you use it. Or you have done your own. There are people, NTA is not willing, BRTV is not willing, but there are some Sahara reporters is willing, Premium Times is willing, others are willing. You now have a relationship with them, you supply them with information, and they can bring it out if you fear, of course, for obvious reasons. Then increase investment and training for journalists on techniques and use of investigative and data journalism. I wish that every year our journalists in Nigeria in groups can attend the Global Investigative Journalism Conference that takes place. Every year they do it. For this 2025 is going to take place in Malaysia. The one for 2024, which I attended, took place in Sweden. And when you go, you see the kind of gadgets, you see the new knowledge, information, and a lot of experiences from different parts of the world where people share. Very few people attend from Nigeria because of the cost. But these are the kind of fora that we require for our media, and this is why, again, you people have to connect yourself to networks and some of these bodies, like some of the civil society bodies too. They have also been attending. Because when you go, you are exposed to a lot of techniques, newer ways of doing things, all use of all these applications, new applications that can support you to investigate and data-driven journalism. Because this is the trend now in the world. People want facts, people want figures. These are what you can use instead of just talking. Then increase for training. Then increase attention on issues of safety of journalists. While we are encouraging individuals to engage in investigative and data journalism, we must also be mindful of the great risk that will accompany their intentions to do this kind of thing. And you cannot just push people anyhow, go and do it, when you have not addressed the issue of their safety. First, psychological safety. When we talk of psychology, we are talking being able to be free from fear. You are engaged in an activity, there's nothing to be fear of. Fear before, during, or after. You know that you are doing this work as a professional. Then number two, physical safety. Nobody will come and attack you physically because you have done ABC. Then the third one, which is important, economic safety. Your welfare, your pay must come when it should, and it should be commensurate with the kind of work you do. Because your economic safety is what will guarantee the safety of your house, your convenience for you to be able to bring out your best. If you are poor, if you are wretched, if you are hungry, where will the energy come for you to work? You just come to the newsroom and wait for press releases. Nothing to investigate. Or if someone is willing to pay for you not to do certain stories, you collect the money and you kill the story. When your salary in your life as a journalist, you have never seen 1 million naira. Then suddenly, you are investigating a story of 100 million, and they call you and tell you we are going to give you 10 million out of this. Kill the story. It will take serious courage and a lot of godliness in you to reject that 10 million. And they won't only just give you the 10 million, they will give you with a caveat. If you refuse, you will go and give your manager and the story will be killed. So you do all your wahala, submit the story in the newsroom, the manager will say, Kai, you are very idealistic, you are young. Okay, anyway, we'll study and see what will happen. Gradually, the story will just vanish. And all the efforts you have put in, you remain frustrated. And there's nothing you can do. You are not the editor. You don't have the final say in the content. So you see, you have missed your 10 million, and the story is also. So you see, it takes a lot of for you to. They won't even give you the 10 million. Maybe they'll start from the law. Because they look at you and assess you. When they look at you, what do they see? They see a manifestation of poverty, a demonstration of hunger, and then wretchedness. So they will just rate you low and give you something small. So you see, So it's not an easy thing. We know how the environment is like. You know how the environment is. So it takes a lot of courage and it's a lot of difficulty. Or they're going to kidnap your father in the village, or they're going to kidnap your uncle, or just give you slam 10 million, 100 million naira libel suit in the court just to frighten you and your organization. And before you know it, you are dismissed from the place of organization. You are bringing too much problem for them. You become unemployed. So the little salary that kake samu ma is gone. So the best thing say kai sai lokacin ka ne Nigeria za ka yi haske. The aikin ka garabi. And that is the end of the story. So these are some of the things. So then you have to also master the use of new technologies like AI. You have to train yourself on this AI and other technologies. This one you have no option. It's either you shape it and learn, or you ship out and die.
Yes.
Because this is the way the world is going. And that's why even our curriculum in the universities have changed, so that we have incorporated all these things now into the new curriculum, so that the students we are going to train will become what? Competitive and relevant. You cannot train students now without online journalism, all this computer knowledge. You have to, because the things have now become integrated into each other. Media business is about the 5 R's: reach, relevance, reputation, revenue, and resilience. And they depend on what? On these things that I've talked about. What is your reach? Is dependent on the technology you have. What is your reputation? That is what will give you audience. What is the relevance of your content? That is what will attract people to remain with you. Then your reputation, your revenue. That is what will give you all the things that you require. And above all, the resilience to be able to remain despite all the difficulties and continue performing. You cannot tell us today, NTA we are on air, we have diesel. The next day there's no diesel. The third day there's no diesel. The fourth day there's diesel. And that is how you. So you have to diesel, whether it's expensive or not, you have to remain resilient and continue pushing. These are some of the hallmarks for media business. And you know that our products are perishable. They are more of social kind of thing. And the nature of media business, you are managing multi-talented people who are difficult to handle. So all these things are important now in media management, and you have to understand them. Then above all, partnering with sister media, civil society and agencies like EFCC, ICPC and others. You have to partner with civil society organizations. You have to work together so that you can be exchanging information. And they can do certain advocacy. If a journalist is arrested, civil society people can make a lot of noise on your behalf. But if the collaboration is not there, they won't even understand the essence of what you are doing for them to be there for you at the hour of need. So this joint work is necessary. When they get their own stories, they come through. When you have the need to work with them, you work with them. Then, of course, finally, diversify funding through alternative sources. You have to diversify your funding. The current model we have of just depending on advert is collapsing. It's no longer paying or depending on government. So you have to now use these technological tools to make money. And that is what media organizations like BBC and all the others are doing. This is why this period is termed as transition period for journalism, or in some places, crisis period for journalism. Because it's completely changing the media landscape. It's the way you source news, the way you process news, the way you disseminate news. There are newer players who are coming up on daily basis. That's why even bodies like NBC are finding it difficult now. So many small media organizations that are online. And they're competing with you, taking away the money from all these companies. With all this big tech, the telecom tech, they're the people making the money, Amazon, Google, and they're not involved in production. You do the production, they provide the linkages and platforms, and they take the money, and adverts go to them. And that is what is happening. That's one of the crisis journalism experiences in the world today. You produce the content, spend money, but Google will put it on their website and give direction, or give linkage or whatever. At the end of the day, people will give them money for adverts. So you are a loser. And that is one of the major things, especially in this AI. You put your content in, AI will take it without even acknowledging you, no references. But it's your own idea. So you are a loser. And this is the global trend now. So that's why you see a lot of arguments coming up. between all these things. So journalists have to diversify. Media organizations have to diversify. The final slide is how can we promote investigative and data journalism in this part of the country? While journalists should understand and confront our current and future challenges for us to build a better future of transparency, accountability, and integrity. First of all, you have to understand this concept and believe in them. Do we deserve this in the Northeast? Do we deserve better governance? Do we deserve more accountability and transparency in our system? Then the next one is join strong movements against corruption and human trafficking abuses. That is why you have to relate with all these civil society organizations. You cannot just be in NUJ alone. You have to belong to different bodies where you can get ideas and get networked. Then, of course, the next one is journalists in the Northeast must organize to fight greed in governance, against secrecy, against violence, against environmental degradation. Because all these are root causes of conflicts. You people have to organize, unite, network, and collaborate. It's not competition, you are not competing. Collaborate, exchange of information. You are in Borno, he's in Taraba, this one is in Adamawa. How do you come together? To share information, to exchange information. Embrace technology like AI, like I said, to enable trust and action. Then, of course, teach and adopt critical thinking. We've been talking about critical thinking. It's not everything you see that you simply accept. Subject it to all sorts of analysis. Don't rush to publish and regret, start apologizing. Subject it to ask certain critical questions. Is this even possible? Why did it happen? Why? And then you need a lot of background and information to eventually arrive at the right answer. It's better to be late than to be delayed. And imagine somebody has built his reputation over the years. He's a permanent secretary after serving for about 30 years in the civil service. Then suddenly, carelessly, you just come in one stroke, destroy his image on an issue that you have not properly informed or you did not investigate. You have to think deep before you start doing this. And this is why you need several sources. And the last one, mobilize society to defend the defenders, like journalists. People must be able to defend you. Enforcement operatives, CSO activists. You have to mobilize people so that they will always support you. They should believe that you are working for them. And anytime you are in trouble, either in the hands of the security agencies or in the hands of some government officials or for some other unfortunate incident, at least there will be people who will be there to make a statement for you. At least the civil society organizations will be there to stand up and fight for you. Maybe one security official just bundle you and put you in prison for nothing. Especially for some of these our social media activists. So by the time the civil society people organize and start making noise all over the place, you see that that pressure will eventually lead to your release or whatever. So don't underestimate the essence of all this collaborative relationship. Not only that, you can even collectively write proposals, get funding from sources for some of your activities. If you work as a team, you can get funding to do certain investigative reports. I have facilitated a lot of some of these things for some of our journalist colleagues. There are agencies where you can approach with some recommendations, you get support for them to finance certain activities that you want to do. You know that the money will not come, but they can finance you. If you have been, maybe let's say part of the Wole Soyinka Foundation, they have grants, and some other foundations, they have grants. And then you see them working with what we call cohorts. So if you're a member of the cohort, you can easily get the support for you to do an investigation on the lake Chad, for you to do an investigation on what caused the flooding in Borno State, and this, you can get support. But you need to have these collaborating linkages. You have to collaborate, understand, know where things are happening, who is sponsoring what. But I assure you, there are a lot of support available. It's now left for you to know where to go and get these things. I did not take a lot of time teaching you on how to write, and these are things that you know. But let's have a general understanding of the issues that are at stake and how you can now situate yourself and get the best out of the entire system. I thank you for your attention. Question, yes. Yes, let's as long as we answer the questions. Let's just ask a few questions then. Your name and address.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. My name is Pate. I'm from Yola, Adamawa State. And I work. You the problem of Nigeria's corruption being structural, which I agree very well. The problem is, in all the circles I've been privileged to attend like this, I hear about this. And I hear very less about how we can destructure the Nigerian corruption. Now, as a professor of high reputation, not just in this country, while listening to you, I was worried, deeply worried, because actually I tend to see no hope. Do you think there's hope, and what are the practical steps? Maybe reduce it to some steps that, whether at journalism level or other stakeholders put together, what can we do? What are those steps we can take to confront distinct corruption and try to kill it like Buhari would want us? Thank you, sir.
Prof, I have two questions for you. Charles Akweji, I write for the Guardian from Taraba State. The first, let's go back to your first presentation, where you talk about internal security. Fine. What I noticed in this country is when we are talking about internal security and this insurgency that is ongoing here in the Northeast, you see that most of the times our military personnel and other security agencies, when they commit crimes, instead of maybe punishing them in another way, you end up sacking them. These are people, these are men you have trained on how to handle arms and ammunition. Many of them, if you look at the list of most of these insurgents, many of them are security personnel that we have sacked. So I don't know how you look.
So I think being a journalist, you have access to the top military brass. You can ask them and let them answer. But if you ask me about journalists,
okay,
I can answer.
Okay, the other question I want you to look at is you made an example with Ghana and Nigeria. That when they're in Nigeria, definitely all of us will fall back to Ghana. And now, presently, as we are talking now, 3 countries, Niger, Mali, I think, and Burkina Faso, they are the verge of exiting from ECOWAS. Do you think that there's no any form of implication? Will their exit affect Nigeria also?
I really appreciate the Prof for doing justice to this presentation. My name is Jinjiri Garba, the State Chairman, Bauchi State Network of Civil Society Organization. Sometimes I wonder, we are having great and talented people in Nigeria, but we could not get it right. Then what is wrong? I look at the rate of corruption. Go to the national airport now in Abuja. We are still using tickets. People refuse to go online. Does it mean that the corrupt people are higher than the one that can be corrected? My number one question. My number two question here is that a scenario that happened to take place in Bauchi, during Women's Day, a report was brought to me that there are some traditional activity that is taking place and women are molested. So during the Women's Week, I reported it to the police commissioner, but I told him that we are still investigating, without knowing that a journalist had even taken it and published it. The next time is that I was taken to the court, including the journalists. Isn't it? Then does this journalist not his proper work? Because when I was reporting it to the police commissioner, I told him we are investigating, but when we are done, we'll come back to him.
Wait a minute. Do you have a newspaper, radio, or TV?
I am a civil society organization.
But that one, the journalist has a platform, and he is obligated to his platform, and he did his job. You also did your own by reporting to the police. He is not duty bound to report to the police. He's duty bound to report to his editor. But he needs to clarify. Maybe he can confirm.
Yeah, but what happened here is that in the court, his own organization could not back him up. Isn't it? And it happened that it is between I and him in the court, but the emir happened to say, okay, that case should be what? Withdrawn. That is where the whole issue happened to end up.
Thank you, Prof. My name is Hassan Ibrahim. I fought for Daily Trust in March. Sir, the issue of this safety, you earlier mentioned that investigative journalism is dangerous, it's very risky. And in the course of conducting investigative journalism, there are so many traps and dangerous trends that you need to undergo. And
Sorry.
yes, apart from the threats, especially from politicians and other bourgeois, how, since, for instance, your organization will not back you with the legal backing in the cost of arrest and other legal challenges, how did you, as a journalist, how did you conduct yourself? Or how do you, because you yourself said your safety is first, and without your life, the stories might be, it is you that should be the next story. So how did you go about with these challenges? Because there are many reports today you cannot embark on, because when you try to start the report, you may end up
being eliminated. Questions from 3.
My name is Susan Ede. I report for Daily Independent. My question is a rider to my colleague's question about media houses implementing safety protocols for their staffs. We have situations whereby the editor will be the one telling you, go to the scene of the violence, go and get pictures for me, go and interview people. How can you be in your house and say you're covering the story? These are the people that are telling you to go there. They don't even care if your life is at risk. So I don't know how we can get these media houses to know that our lives too are important. Our lives are important before the story. Because most of them, they keep threatening you. That I know a colleague that lost his job because he refused to do what the editor wanted him to do. So it's a serious problem that impedes on the progress of our work.
I
think after this, Prof will answer the ones we have.
Thank you, sir. My name is Austin Ajayi. I write for Tribune from Adamawa State. Prof, I want to take you back to the systemic structure that the corruption is taking tune in Nigeria.
Now, my question will be, most media houses don't pay salaries. Don't pay salaries. And this is a report you need to do. And somehow you need to do some investigative work. And you're just following from afar. My friend, don't worry, drop that. How do you think, as a scholar, what solution will you profile so that these media houses pays journalists what is rightly theirs? Because I believe when you made mention of the BBC, they make money for the pay. Some of us who have had privileges of working with some of them that came out, they don't even go after before they go. But for we, it's a practice you wait for the last paragraph. What will you say?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the exciting questions. Some I may be able to answer, some they are above my capacity too. Let me start with that of Ajayi. I said something. Economic independence determines editorial independence.
Yes, that is
Apply it to you as an individual. If I pay you well, I should expect you to work well. But not for some editor to sit in Lagos or sit in Ibadan and be issuing a directive to a reporter in Borno. Go to Monguno, go and get me social story. Go to Bukawa, go and I hear that maybe he has read something in the social media. Go and get me social. He does not even know the map of Borno State and what it takes to travel from Maiduguri to Bukawa. He thought it's like leaving Ekiti to go to Ibadan. Or even Ekiti is far. Maybe it's from Oyo to Ibadan. Because the entire zone is not half of Borno State. So he may not appreciate what it takes to travel from Jalingo to Mambila. He won't understand what it means and the difficulties involved, because number one is himself is not exposed. Because he's not exposed, he doesn't know. And all he wants news that can sell. And sometimes you even send the story, they go and rewrite it to sensationalize the headline. And you end up explaining to people at the lower level. Said, let us not run a send to the editor. That was not my fault. But somebody wrote it. I've given the thing some kind of headline that is so scary. So, first, you cannot engage in investigative journalism without the support and the directive or the support, the agreement of your management. Don't do that. Your management must be willing to be with you. The moment you do it alone, if anything happens, they can disown you. We didn't know. It has happened severally. And you may have editors who are not courageous enough, or managing directors. Some the politicians are their friends. And they can sacrifice you at any point. You can be sacrificed. You have to understand that. So you also must come with clean hands. You cannot go and collect money somewhere, do something, or be used by someone. Maybe another permanent secretary is angry, he wants to push away his boss. He will come in good faith and say he's giving you information. You collect it thinking that the thing is without any implication. You have become a tool. By the time you use it, you don't know that you are just helping to fight somebody's war. So you have to be, that's why I talk about critical thinking. You have to be very careful. For this kind of thing that you talk about, is the issue of the economy. We know of newspapers who do not pay salaries. We also know newspapers that pay salaries. And what is the standard of ethics in all these newspaper houses? I don't want to say certain things here, but at least I know a little about a lot of the newspapers in this country and about the political economy and all of that. But let's not go into all of that details. However, our own body, the NUJ and others also need to work as collective bodies, where we do not have serious collective bodies like unions. We do not have all this collaboration with civil society organizations. Anything that happens, you are on your own. you will have nobody to work with. So we must emphasize on this collective spirit, because this is going to be our saving grace in the event of problem. If you are dismissed, why do people abuse ASU? ASU, no matter what, they don't collect contribution from anybody. They don't collect donation from government, from this, from that. No matter what, they depend on the check-off dues of members. And that is why ASU can be so strong and also be able to defend its members. But in a situation where that spirit is lacking, what happens? And you know the nature of ownership in the media industry is not like we have in the universities. You have some universities, some organizations that are just very small. Like Taraba. Taraba is one of the graveyards of journalism in this country. The mortality rate for newspapers is so high. Every day they are celebrating one funeral or the other for one media organization or another in Taraba State. You know the number of newspapers that rise and fall in Taraba. So for this kind of people, they don't care. A politician wants to contest for councillorship, the next he throws a newspaper. Yeah. And once his ambition fails, the newspaper fails, and the journalists employed become unemployed. So these are things that the unions must also work hard to defend. The journalists themselves must be the first people to fight for these things. Nobody will give you this on a platter of gold. But when you appear cheap and you appear available, then people can do whatever they want with you. So I cannot give you 2 + 2 answer. I don't know. Then let's go back to number 1, Pate. How can we structure corruption? First, understand the political economy of corruption and the reward compared to the punishment. What is the punishment like? The reward is far more attractive than the punishment, because those that should control corruption are also part of it. And there's nobody that can control it. Now people are even talking about restructuring Nigeria because they are frustrated with the current system. I'm hoping that when Nigeria is restructured, certain problems can also be addressed. So, what are the attractions in the system? What is the punishment? And who is being punished? When politicians can go to court and get permanent injunctions restraining government or EFCC or ICPC from investigating or even taking them to court, despite the fact that they are taking, it's clear that they are taking the money. Or there are allegations they are taking the money, but they go to court and go in, and the court will give them injunction. So who are you going to accuse? That's why I say the thing is complete, is structural. So if we want it, something drastic must happen. When we attended the Transparency International Conference in Vilnius, I don't know if you know the founder of Transparency, Professor Pate. Peter, remember this? He presented a paper. He said one of the reasons why the Western nations supported General Buhari to emerge as Nigeria's president, and they supported, he said, it was with the hope that it would come and fight corruption in Nigeria. At the end of the day, it became too difficult for him too. So you could see, it's not something that I or you or only the government, it's a collective decision we must take that it is enough for all of us. Because every sector you pick, every sector is not only the politician. Even the journalists, if we have to investigate you here. In fact, if you have to investigate a classroom monitor in Nigeria, he may not escape. Because this is the system that, like I've said, is the structure. So honestly, I don't have one single answer I can say, this is it. But my belief is we need to express our steps. Otherwise, this thing will completely shatter our country. And it's doing that already. But we need to do more. But what we need to do, I don't know. But we need to do more. Then number 2. Okay, there is hope. Is there any hope? What can we do? Of course there is hope. Hope is what keeps us alive. As a human being, today you lose hope, you are gone. I have the hope that this country will definitely be better. There are other parts of the world, the corruption is everywhere. Only that our own is beyond redemption. But there's corruption anywhere, everywhere. But our own is just, well, it's not beyond redemption. Let me withdraw that. but it has gone so deep that we need to do a lot more. I don't know, maybe the Chinese model or what, I don't know.
Yes.
There are different models of addressing corruption. But definitely all of us, we know we have something. Then Charles, how can we, the exit of the Sahelian countries from ECOWAS? Honestly, I pray, and I will continue to pray, that they do not completely withdraw from ECOWAS. It's not in their interest, and it's not in the interest of the region. For so many of you, certainly, Niger departing from ECOWAS will not be in the interest of Nigeria. Likewise, Niger, how many Nigerians are staying in Nigeria? Informally. There are millions. You go to Ghana, you find them. Now, if they are to withdraw, it means Nigerians will start happy. They need to apply for visa. And all these informal Masugadi, what do you do with them? There are millions. What do you do with them? When will they start applying for visa? Some have established their residences here, their family people, they are in business, they are doing their and then the economic conditions in Niger cannot absorb all their returnees. If so you cannot, the environment will not accommodate them. And what will be the consequence? Nigeria will be a victim, because any negative thing, they already know Nigeria very well. And whether you like it or, Nigeria is still, despite all our difficulties, we are still better economically than some of these countries. And the long-term relationship between these countries, people in Sokoto, people in this, look, is going to be a very messy thing. So I'm praying that somehow wisdom and will prevail, and our elders, even the last time, you remember it was the intervention of elders that eventually saved the day. So I pray that good counsel all over the world, diplomatic pressure and other things will work so that they remain. It's better they are part of this. Now, Chad here, if Chad is not supporting our war for Boko Haram, it will be a messy situation for us. People can use that. And look at the border. Nigeria with Niger has more than 1,000 and something kilometer border. We cannot superintend the border. It's impossible. We do not have the staff and the equipment to superintend these borders. So if Niger decides to say, okay, we don't care, so long as you are going to commit all your mistakes, if it's not within our territory, go. What happens? This Lakurawa in Sokoto, they are all from the Sahel region. They are not Nigerians. Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, they are the people. So if they are not supporting our war effort, what happens? You saw the National Security Advisor was in Niger just two, three weeks ago. He was in Niger. He was in Chad. Or was it in Chad? He went. Because, look, the complexities is not a very simple mathematics. There are going to be losers, we are going to be losers. And even the amount of threat between Nigeria and Niger, amount of threat is not small. So I don't want to think that this exit is a luxury that we can afford. It will be injurious to our own international interests, and it will also be injurious to their own domestic and international interests. We cannot afford to have to open more battle fronts or war fronts with other countries. That's my own opinion. So I pray that whatever we are going to do as individuals in our writings, let us not go towards encouraging violence or calling for all this kind of thing. Let's continue to emphasize this unity that we invested so much in. Then, Gingery, are corrupt people more in Nigeria? No. I disagree with that assertion. And even if they are more, why are they corrupt? Ordinarily, A typical Nigerian may not be corrupt, but he is forced to be corrupt. What is the total number of the elites who are involved in corruption? They are not up to 1/4 of Nigeria. They are not up to even quarter of Nigerians. But they are the leaders. They lead, we follow. So their behavior becomes like the directive principles for us. If at our own level we organize, maybe reject, which will be difficult, perhaps they will be forced to follow. Who wins elections? The man with the biggest amount of money. Who votes? You and me. Who reports? You and me. Even for some of you as journalists, you follow politicians with bigger money than small money. You know, I know. So some people have become permanent government house correspondents in their media houses.
That's scary.
They don't want to, if you change them today, tomorrow they will go and tell the governor will call you, please pay some. So every governor, they are the only permanent government house correspondents. Why is it so? Why are they maintaining that bit permanently? You know why? So look, it's a very complex discussion that I've told you. I will not pretend that I have answers. And it's not just about EFCC, ICPC alone. It's far more than that. Otherwise, ICPC will have addressed all this issue. EFCC will have addressed it. But the more they do, the bigger the thing becomes. In fact, people no longer fear. They are so courageous. If you are going to steal big so that you can share properly. That's the spirit now. Then, but I pray that somehow we will overcome. Hassan, how can you conduct yourself in investigative journalism? I said it at the beginning, you must have the backing of the management. Don't on your own go into this without their support. Because if anything happens, you become a sacrificial lamb. But if you have their backing, they will be willing to hire a legal team for you, or the reports can be given for legal verification and all of that. But without it, you are on your own. And like I said, you must have the courage. And they provide the resources. If they're not willing to provide, and you don't have any credible alternative source acceptable to them, don't do it. I will not ask you to go and risk your life. If the support, is it not for the media house you are performing? And is it not the media house that will sell the newspaper and make the money? And if they are not willing to support you, why will you do that? Then this is again where you can also work with civil society organizations and with other alternative media organizations. Maybe you are in Daily Trust, you have a report, Daily Trust is not willing to publish, you give it to Sahara reporters. Sahara reporters, they may not indicate your byline, but they know the stories from you. They will take it. So these are some of the ways a lot of things happen. No, don't be a primitive hero. Go and put your neck and nobody to save you. You must prepare your route before you arrive at the destination. But if you go on your own and anything happens, she cannot. Then, Susan, how can we tell our editors that our lives are at risk or the implications of certain things on what we do? Continuous education. And again, like I said, I told you earlier, sometimes you can submit a report, but they can go over to your editor. With all the efforts you put, the story will just do what? Die. So, conferences like this should also be organized for editors and proprietors. Once in a while, editors are gathered, you sit and discuss some of these issues. These are operational issues. They are not policy issues. So the editors themselves must appreciate. Somebody grew up all his life between Ogun and Lagos, and he's the editor of a newspaper. You are in Borno. He doesn't know how Borno state looks like, the size of Borno, and a lot more other things about Borno and Yobe. Then he sends you, suddenly there's something in Damasak, maybe something in the night. In the morning he expects a story from you. Hey, I have seen so in Damasak. Yes, I'm working. Just rush to Damasak and give me the suit before the end of the day. He doesn't know what it takes to travel from Maiduguri to Damasak and the other arrangements. And he's not giving you a kobo. The same thing with Gembu. Maybe something has happened in Gembu. You are in Jali. You don't have any friend in Gembu. They want you to go, get the story, and the next edition you are in the newspaper. How can it? And this is why you too, you must have your linkages. As a reporter in Maiduguri, you must also have friends in some of these areas that can help in the time of need. So look, like I've said, this is not 2 + 2 for us to say 4. These are creative issues that come up. And this is why the issue of management, this is why you distinguish who is a manager and who is a damager. Is your editor a manager or is he a damager? If he's a manager, he will know how to manage all these tensions, all these situations, and at the end of the day, something good comes out of it. But if he's a damager, he expects you to behave like a machine, mechanical. It can't work. How many minutes for break? 10? Yes. You see the difficulty of democracy?
How many minutes?
Okay, let's say 15 minutes.
15 minutes. The lead consultant assured us that every question will be addressed immediately after the